Ronald Becker. First, I want to start off with some apologies. I want to apologize that this program took me 10 years to complete. I was really done with most of the work within the first two. Then I went on to another master's, and unfortunately, I came down with some health and memory issues, which are kind of under control now. So I want to thank the board, and I want to thank Dr. Holshoe for letting me complete this year. And I hope you guys enjoy this. My favorite class out of the entire education technology program was 5315, Advanced Educational Technology. I can't just say it's my favorite because Dr. Byram is my favorite. He's one of my favorites, but the class, you got a sense when you were taking it that it really did take 20, 30 years to put together. It was the culmination of Dr. Byram's work that he put this class together, and it hands down has been the one that has given me the most education, the most resources, and has led me to help the most amount of people. I use this class quite a bit, and I'm so glad that I took his class in this program. This class was centered around the idea of creating artifacts that help us teach a TEKS, or a lessons goal, using education technology. Some of the great things that we learned from it were how to create film. I didn't know what B-roll was. I didn't know what A-roll was, to be honest. I didn't know production. I was not a filmmaker. I'm not a filmmaker now. I definitely would qualify myself as a sound producer and somebody who's in the music business. I got a pretty decent repertoire behind me, but when it comes to film, Dr. Byram opened our eyes. And I think, it shows. I know that a lot of students have said that was their favorite class. For artifacts, for our first major project, again, we were a team on most of the projects. Sometimes we worked with other people also. The very first thing that we did was our timeline. We made the Sweet Treat project. It came out great. And, using software, we can do a very similar time lapse. You take videos and put them together, and people get an idea, 6 frames per minute or something like that. And that creates a time lapse video, and it comes out looking pretty cool. It's kind of an artistic effect.
Sugar, oh honey, honey, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you, honey, oh sugar, sugar, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. I just can't believe the loveliness of loving you. I just can't believe it's true. I just can't believe the wonder of this feeling too. I just can't believe it's true. Ah, sugar. Oh, honey, honey. You are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you.
In a later project, we did a stop motion film where we had Batman basically take over and defeat Aquaman and a few other characters. It was a pretty cool film looking back at the YouTube because we were using my son's old Lego table. He's going to graduate this year, so that's how far back we're going here. But, it's been a good reminder. But the stop motion film is great. Using effects, we can make a stop motion film also. And our final project, we put together a very cool newscast. Looked very similar to what you would see on any major news network. And the topic was on collaboration versus cheating, specifically in collaboration. But at what point does bringing technology in and eventually AI in, does it become cheating versus collaboration? And we had some really good points from some students. We had some great points from some professionals, principals, administrators, and some teachers. And we had Josh even give a little presentation on his guys. And what we pretty much have come along with is if people aren't pulling their weight, it's cheating. But if people are each collaborating their own thing, then it's collaboration. And ironically, we actually were collaborating in this project. Kind of the whole theme of this thing was all my weakest points were the ones that I kept doing. I put the plan together. I put the script together. Versus the acting. I didn't do a lot of acting throughout this class, and it was great. It was like, hey, this is the stuff that I need to work on, is this other stuff. So it really was an eye-opener for us. And I also know that, you know, my wife Bianca, she did a lot of the presentation, and that's her weakest point. So it was great for us. Specifically, what I learned from 5315 is that context matters. So my film style needs to be catered to what I'm doing. If I'm going to do something for construction management, which is what I do, or safety management, I'm going to cater it and to something that's going to fit with industrial. I might do things like dropping a hammer off a desk, or sound effects, or stuff that's funny to keep them paying attention, because they get bored really easy. If I'm going to do something for, let's say, a school board, or for the city of Austin, or the city of Georgetown, or the University of Texas, or the University or Texas State University, I'm going to cater it in such a way that it's formal enough that they go, okay, this is college level work, it's academia, but they're still going to know that it's, you know, the purpose is based on what the title is. So the context really does matter when you're trying to keep people drawn in, and different people are going to be drawn in a different manner. Impact on self. So the greatest impact on myself that this class 5315 had was that I grew my weaknesses. My weaknesses were, I didn't do planning. I didn't make a script. I shot from the hip. Even when doing my music, I didn't do the practice, so to speak, until recently. I've had these memory issues, which I've already spoke of. I have to practice my songs sometimes 500 times, maybe 1,000 times. Like, it's literally getting into those numbers to get them to where they're perfect, and they are getting better. Same thing with doing script writing and with creating an outline and a foundation for whatever I'm going to do. When I create a PowerPoint, I lay it out in an outline now of what I'm going to put in there for teaching my guys. So I do that in safety teaching, and I do that in professor work for UT Arlington, where I assist and I sometimes teach traffic control or other safety classes. But I didn't do outlines prior to that. So Dr. Byram's class gave me that ability to go in there and do an outline that I was lacking. Impact on others. So I've been able to affect others by using this experience and training that I got from Dr. Byram. I've been able to create presentations that have been basically copied and are being used at the University of Texas at Austin, because I basically took the exact knowledge that I gained from Dr. Byram, I applied it to occupational safety, and I made presentations. While working at Patriot Erectors, which is a company I work for out of Dripping Springs in Hays County, I basically put this entire thing together for risk management and how to do accident investigation. And I created it in such a way that I used the equivalent of what was Google Cloud then, is what we were doing. Now we're doing Microsoft Cloud. And I set them up in a way that they got the training of my accident investigation training from presentations and videos, and then they were able to do a test at the end that gave them a score, and they could submit that and use that to get admission and to work on the University of Texas at Austin when we were building the stadium. And no other guy that was in safety was that squared away. I got compliments from the head of the risk management and the head of the safety at University of Texas at Austin because I did this. And I'm 38 now, but I've been in safety since 2007, and it's these little things that I've gained from this program that have made me such a powerful safety officer. The next acquisition knowledge that I would like to discuss is Dr. Holschuh's models of integration of education technology. This class, specifically the things that I remember, because again we're going back 10 years, I remember the discussions that we had on traditional education. And I remember the discussions that we had on classical education. And specifically relating to the military, my interest was like, okay, so which one of these? Dr. Holschuh explained that it was traditional education. And that is where, let's say, PFC Becker is in the Army, he takes a class, he becomes proficient at it, like a grenadier. He learns how to be a grenadier. It was a lot more theory-based and style-based, but based on that, he learns to be a grenadier. He does not pass go and does not collect $200 like Monopoly says until he has the gist of it, or until his drill sergeant says, hey, he's an expert at this, he's advanced at this. He moves on to the next level. Then he gets the next bit of knowledge, then the next bit of knowledge, and the next bit of knowledge. And I also learned from this that the American style of education is specifically not classical or traditional. It's kind of like this quasi thing that it's ran in such a way that we're teaching mostly at the pace of the slowest student, and everybody's kind of getting a little bit of it at a time. Some people are getting straight A's, some people are getting F's. And we're hoping that enough people get their hours, which I didn't really understand until I was in Dr. Holschuh's, how that worked out with schools getting paid by the hour, so to speak, for the students. It was an eye-opener. Then I later worked in education for a year at a high school, and I get it now. One of the best acquisitions of knowledge that I got from this class, which 5320 again, specifically had to deal with Vygotsky and Piaget. Coming in, I was not a teacher. I taught some things. I do safety. I've done some criminal justice stuff. I was a cop. But my job was not teaching. I was never a teacher K through 12. A lot of the people that I was in class with, they were K through 12 teachers like my wife, who actually went through a program, got a teaching degree. As I was in the class, I actually got my teaching certificate, and I did teach for about a year out of high school. It just wasn't like, it was great, and I really appreciate the kids. I still have a few students who reach out to me, but it wasn't what I think it should be. I think we could do a lot better based on other models, international models, than what we're doing now. I think the VOTEC program would be a lot better in America than what we're currently doing for high schools. Just an opinion. Specifically, going back to the hour thing, I think that, again, Dr. Holschuh's class opened me up to the fact of hours. And it also opened me up to domains. You have this many domains or lessons that have to be taught. And within a year, you've got to break them down. And the Texas Education Board gives you these domains that you've got to teach. And then as you're teaching them, you have to teach so many of them, and you have to teach so much percentage. And if at the end you're short, you get in trouble with the Texas TEA. And again, that was something I learned in Dr. Holschuh's class. When I break things down, I have never brought it down into, let's do 5 minutes on this, 10 minutes on that, 20 minutes on this, because the TEACS says I need to have so much of this, so much of this, so much of this. During this class, I saw how we could break it down, specifically for me, using Vygotsky's zone of proximal development and using Piaget's cognitive development theory, and I was able to break things down and, so to speak, chunk them, which is a term I didn't know at that time because I wasn't a teacher. And I do a lot of chunking in the same manner from what I learned in this class. The impact on self that I gained from this class is I learned how to both use education and technology. Again, I did not come in as a teacher. I came in from the criminal justice world and the safety world. But I learned how to bring them in, and I learned how to set up a lesson plan that was based on theory and that was also based on the TEKS. I put it together, and we use TEKS, or you guys use TEKS on the K through 12 level. I use basically OSHA guidelines of what a requirement is. OSHA will say, hey, this has to be trained so many times in a year, this has to be trained during this lesson plan. And I use those. So it's similar, but these are the tasks that OSHA wants. And, you know, having this class allowed me to do that. Again, I learned during this class the term chunking. I didn't know what the term chunking was, but I now know it. You know, you chunk stuff up and you do, let's say, 5 minutes because it says you have to have this much percent of this TEKS, knowledge, and then you go to the next thing and it says you have to have 20%. So if I'm doing a 45-minute class, I'm going to have X 20% of the minutes, and so on and so forth. And being in Dr. Holshoe's class allowed me to break things up into those domains like that. It's helped me, specifically when I was doing the OSHA 500 course, which it's not the most difficult course, but it was obvious that I was the student that shined. I was the guy that the instructor wants to hire to go teach as a professor after I finish this program, assuming I pass. If I don't, I don't know. But it was mostly from the stuff that I learned in this program, and it's Dr. Byram's teaching, and it was Dr. Holshoe's teaching that made that a possibility and a probability. Impact on others. The specific impact on others that I have got from this class, 5320, is really gave me confidence. And everybody will say, oh, going to college gives you confidence. I think the majority of the stuff I learned in college did not give me confidence. It was just more stuff that I had to learn. This class did. Specifically, the amount of time spent learning about Vygotsky, learning how it worked, and then learning how Piaget, with the cognitive theory, I use that, and I use it a lot. And in the construction world, people are like, oh my God, this is great. How did you? And I was like, and I just kind of keep it to myself. But really what I'm doing is I'm constantly moving the goalposts. And that's because that's what Vygotsky was teaching, is you get everybody to a level of proficiency, and then you just kind of give them a little more knowledge, and a little more knowledge, and a little more knowledge. And if that doesn't work, then I go into my next thing, which is cognitive development theory, which came from Piaget. And that one is I team them up with a guy who I believe is smarter or who knows that task better. In the union, they call this apprenticeship. You have a journeyman, which is a guy who's skilled and has years and years of experience, and you have an apprentice, and the apprentice is learning from the journeyman. It's kind of like, the knight system too. You have a guy who's learning what the knights know, and he eventually becomes a knight. Or the military. You have a private, and the private is going to learn from a corporal, sergeant major, and so on. And I think that impact on others, specifically, it's made me the best safety guy I know. I get compliments from all over the industry, but there's nothing special I do, except for I combine a few little things that I learned in this education technology program into it. The other thing is I integrate technology. I wouldn't even say that proficiently. It's knowing when to use it. So knowing when to create a digital test to hand out, and your guys can do it, and then at the end of going through Microsoft Cloud, it pops up a pop-up, they do the test, automatically gives them a score, and they can go right in. It's like a pass. Versus we sit in a class, we teach the class, everybody's bored doing a PowerPoint, and you guys just don't learn that way anymore. Some guys do. I find that my really older gentlemen, few ladies, I've only had a few ladies in construction, but I find that my older gentlemen, some of them learn that way, or most of them learn hands-on. But specifically being able to roll out something like that, have it super quick, super efficient, that theory basis I got from Dr. Holshoe's class. And again, just like with Dr. Byram, I'm super thankful for this class. My next acquisition of knowledge that I want to talk about is EDTC 5340 with Dr. Smith. specifically in this class, it's the cool class. And when I say that, like, I saw my wife in this class, and I saw my wife's personality change after this class. She became interested. I think she did this actually as an elective when she was in her first semesters, and then she switched over to Ed Tech. And I remember when she was teaching at Ruth Barron in Pflugerville, she started bringing in this cool stuff. The Legos, the Lego robots. I was like, Lego robots? Okay. And then when I got in the program, I understood. She started doing the 3D printing. And I remember there's a little castle-looking thing she has around here that is a 3D printed object. And she did it in Dr. Smith's EDTC 5320. For me, the coolest thing that I got from it is learning how to do like SVG files and CAD files and 3D printing. And the other thing that you wouldn't think that you get from it is I learned the concept of the eye doesn't see what it doesn't see. And what I mean by that is when I got done with this and I later went into computer programming, I took what Dr. Smith's stuff was here and I learned how to do my CSS. So cascading style script. I learned how to set up my cascading style script because in my head I'm seeing what Dr. Smith's class taught us. At one point in the program, I remember there was a point where you build a circuit. This was especially cool for me because the first program I ever took in college, I took while sitting in Iraq, and I was taking electrical engineering. I've never really, up to that point, actually put it into use. I never actually sat there and built a circuit and made things work. And I remember we make a couple potentiometers or something. It's pretty rudimentary, so to speak. But it was pretty cool to do that. And I actually use that knowledge now for fixing my guitar amps and my guitars. So that's another great thing that came from this class. So going to the impact on self. What the class has given me is it's given me major tools. And these major tools that if tomorrow I need to do robotics, I can go in and do robotics. Ironically, that class allowed me to help out the surveyors that time. And what I mean by that is I didn't have any knowledge of the robots. But you wouldn't believe how much surveying goes on in concrete work and in construction. We use robots for a lot of stuff. And when they're discussing it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I really don't have much on there, like, they're like talking over the head. I'm like, well, you know, I kind of know this. And then I go in and the bitmap and stuff like that. And I can kind of adjust things with them. And I kind of understand, so to speak, the concept of zero. Zero is flat. So in music, zero is a flat level. If I want to bring it down below it, now it's negative. If I want to bring it above it, it's 1. But then you also have your horizontal, which until recently didn't exist, but it does now because we have Dolby Atmos, which allows you to expand stuff to the left and the right, up and down. And Dolby Atmos is doing a lot of the same stuff that we did in CAD program. It's just thinking about it in a different manner, which is something I really appreciated from Dr. Smith's class. Impact on others. What 5340 has had an impact on others is I've had multiple times where I've been able to come in and program stuff and help others program stuff based off the knowledge that I got in that class. I've been the guy that's been like, hey, you know, you can use this 3D app on your phone to print up a CAD program. We set it off with an SVG file and you can get it made. And it's had an impact on others. I haven't used it a lot though, but it's definitely an impact on others. It also gave me a better understanding specifically with helping out an artist. And when I say this, I was using that knowledge and kind of doing rich format text, and I was actually doing it like code logging, like moving stuff around with, you know, decimal point or whatever form for rich format text. And I helped create a press kit for a friend of mine, which is also a disabled veteran who's also in the music business, and that's Deanna Wheeler. And I can tell you that, I mean, could anybody have done it? Yeah, if they took enough time, they could. But for me, it was quick. I could just pick it up based on the knowledge I got in Dr. Smith's class. I went right to it. I made her a press kit in about 2 days. And I'm like, and I didn't make it like nonstop 2 days. I made it on my little, like I had a break here, a break there. I had a lunch, and I was like, hey, I'm eating at lunch, and I made this using the knowledge I got from Dr. Smith's class. So that impact on others, I mean, for her specifically, that girl's still thanking me. And every time that she needs to send out a press kit, I'm like, here it is, you know. Hey, can you go back in there and edit? And it's like, yeah, I can edit. And, you know, I didn't learn rich text formatting, but I learned what Dr. Smith showed us, and I can go in and make the adjustments based off the knowledge I got in Dr. Smith's class. So that's the impact it's had on others. I know that the assignment was to go through 3 specific acquisitions of knowledge, but I think I'd be doing a disservice to the program if I didn't bring up the entire totality of the program. Because of this program, here we are 10 years out. I mean, January of 2014. And in that time, a lot of technology has changed. Like, I don't think there's ever been a period in time where technology changed so much. But the apps, the concept of the apps are still there. They've changed the names. Like, you've got Kahoot and some of these other names. But I know where to look for resources now. I know kind of the concept of the resources, and I know if I go down this rabbit hole, I'm going to find these resources. And because of knowing what's out there, which I don't think most teachers know that, especially teachers trying to bring technology into an education realm. And I work in safety. I can tell you that when it comes to construction, it comes to the business world, we're the educators. We're the guys that do all the teaching once you leave college. Like for the next 40 to 60 years, we're the guys that get them. For those, 4 to 8 years in college, you guys get them. For the professors, and for K through 12, the teachers get them. But for the rest of their life, I'm the guy that gets them, and I got to teach them all this stuff that is business related and is keeping them safe and keeping them alive and keeping them from getting electrocuted and stuff. And it's all these resources that I learned from Dr. Holshoe, Dr. Smith, and Dr. Byram, which were my 3 main professors through this entire program. And those resources, I mean, hands down, it's made me top notch. Even with my memory and cognitive decline that I had in that time, unfortunately, I mean, I'm sure Dr. Holshoe is going to see that there's quite a few times that I do something with my eyes. It's me trying to think, and unfortunately now when I think, like I have to squint or I have to kind of move around to get the thoughts into my head. The resources that you gave are, I mean, they're endless. I use them in what I do. So the impact that it's had on me self-wise is I have tools. I have tools for all the stuff that I do, and I share these tools with others. I share the program all the time, and I hope more people go into the EdTech program or at least minor in it. It's a great program across the board. I'm glad that Texas State does it. I've talked to some of the people at UT that do it. It's an awesome program, and I'm going to keep pushing for it. As far as impact on others, this program, the great thing about education technology program at Texas State, I think it has a greater impact on others than it does on self. And what I mean by that is the old guys that I work with, I teach them these resources, and they're like, oh my God, how did you do this? And again, they get lively because they're like, why does this young guy know this? But yeah, I've been in safety for 20, 30 years. And these guys are like, they wonder it, and it's like, well, because I didn't get the knowledge from the safety world. I got the knowledge from the Texas State Education Technology Department, and I'm just bringing that into the safety world. And I know you guys are at a university level, and you never really get to see it, but I can tell you that the stuff that I've brought into the safety world has actually saved lives. I physically have seen it. I have brought stuff in, and guys have come to me and say, hey, remember that thing you taught me the other day? I almost did what I wasn't supposed to do, and because of your class, it saved my life. And you guys don't get to hear that because most people are going to apply this in K through 12. But your training, the stuff that you taught us, is actually saving lives. So I figured that recapping on the program and bringing that in was important. So I want to thank you guys again. Thank you for this program. Thank you for letting me do this. I hope I passed. If not, I've given it a hell of a try for trying to remember what I've forgotten the last 10 years. And both me and my wife are very, very proud that we went through your program. We're thankful every day. If you reach out to Dr. Byram, please tell him thank you. So, Ronald Becker, Master's Education candidate, and thank you.